The last thing I expected that rainy Thursday night was to match with anyone remotely interesting, let alone someone who'd make my hands shake as I read her bio. I had just moved to Bristol from Sheffield after a nasty breakup and needed something new, something that didn't feel like my past. My therapist told me to try getting back out there. So I downloaded Amora, a sapphic dating app, half expecting it to be a dead end. Then I saw her profile. Witty, book-obsessed, partial to dirty martinis and long glances across candlelit tables. Her name was simply listed as R. No face photo, but something about the words made me stop scrolling. We started chatting that night. Her replies were quick-witted, sometimes flirtatious, but never overbearing. I felt like I was talking to someone who understood me, without even knowing the shape of my smile or the freckles across my nose. We talked for hours. She mentioned she worked in publishing, and that she loved discussing plot twists, especially the unexpected ones. I didn't press for details. Honestly, I liked the mystery. By the third night she asked me out. Drink at the Green Rabbit. Thursday, 7 p.m. I stared at the message. That was just 2 days away. Fast forward to Thursday night, I was half hiding behind my umbrella as the wind nearly flipped it inside out. I wore a deep burgundy coat and black ankle boots, hoping I looked half as confident as I pretended to be. The Green Rabbit was dim, warm, and smelled faintly of clove and gin. I arrived early, heart pounding. I scanned the bar and froze. She was already there, sitting elegantly at the far corner, dark hair tied in a low knot, a glass of something clear in her hand, a smirk just touching her lips. And I knew her. My stomach dropped. My spine stiffened. It was Ruth Elwood, my boss, the editor-in-chief of Kingsley and Fun Publishing, the woman I'd emailed just this morning about a deadline. She looked up, spotted me, and blinked, once slowly. Then a sharp smile curved across her lips. "Interesting," she said. "Didn't expect you either, darling." I felt my knees weaken. This night was about to get complicated. The way Ruth said darling made my heart skip in the worst way. Not because I didn't like it, because I did. Too much. And that was the problem. I stood frozen by the entrance, debating whether to turn around and run back into the storm. But then she tilted her head and patted the seat beside her, calm and unbothered as ever. "Come on, Elle, don't be shy. You've already seen me yell at interns. Surely a cocktail's less terrifying." I swallowed hard and walked over. The bar buzzed behind me with low conversations and clinking glasses. The warmth inside was sharp contrast to the ice in my spine. My boss, the woman who once sent back my entire manuscript with a single line note. "Try again, but this time write like you mean it." She wasn't cruel. She was brilliant, untouchably brilliant. And now she was looking at me with eyes that weren't bossy. They were amused, almost playful. I sat down. "You're R," I said, barely above a whisper. "And you're Elle the Wanderer." "I should have guessed," she replied, sipping her martini. "You do wander a lot, even in your writing." My cheeks burned. "Did you know it was me before tonight?" "Yes." I paused, just for a second, then smiled over the rim of her glass. "Not until you walked in. But I suppose I should have guessed. There aren't many Eleanor Kents in our Slack channel. So what happens now?" "That depends," she said, and her voice softened. "On whether you want to stay." I did. And I hated that I did. We ordered drinks. She stayed with her martini, I ordered a glass of red, and spent the next hour talking about everything but work. She asked about my last relationship. I asked about her taste in music. We avoided talking about publishing, manuscripts, deadlines, until the moment I laughed too loud at one of her jokes, and her hand reached out instinctively to rest on mine. The touch was brief, but deliberate. Her thumb brushed my knuckles and my breath caught. "I shouldn't be here," I whispered. "You're not at work," she replied. "You're not even my employee tonight. You're just a woman I happen to like talking to. You're still my boss tomorrow." Her eyes didn't waver. "Then let's keep this in tonight." I didn't know if she meant emotionally or physically, but by the time we left the bar, The air between us had thickened with things we didn't say. She offered to call a cab. I said I'd walk. She leaned in. Not to kiss me, but close. Too close. I don't play games, Eleanor. And I don't date lightly. You should think about that. Then she stepped back and left me standing there, heart thrashing like a hummingbird's. And I realized something terrifying. I wanted to see her again. The next morning, I woke up still wearing my coat. My phone buzzed with the usual work pings. Slack updates, reminder alarms, unread emails from Ruth. My boss. I stared at her name, my pulse thudding. It felt like the space between us had shifted, tilted. And yet, her email was perfectly normal. Just a subject line. Second pass on chapter 7. No flirtation. No acknowledgement of last night. But it wasn't over. Not really. That evening, as I was halfway through reheating leftover curry, a notification popped up on my phone. Mora. Ruth R. has sent you a message. I hesitated, then opened it. That wasn't nothing last night. No emojis, no pleasantries, just that. I stared at the screen, heat crawling up my neck. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I should have left it. Should have ignored it. Instead I typed, "No, it wasn't." A second later, "Are you free tomorrow?" I didn't reply immediately. The truth was, the whole thing felt like quicksand. Every part of me knew the dangers. Office gossip, HR disasters, emotional damage. But under all that fear was a thrill. I wasn't just Eleanor the junior editor anymore. I was the woman Ruth Elwood looked at like I was a puzzle she wanted to solve with her hands. So I said yes. We met at a bookshop cafe in Bath on Saturday. Neutral ground, she called it. She was already there, seated in the corner with a paperback folded in her palm and a black scarf wrapped around her throat. Understated, but effortlessly magnetic. She waved me over and handed me a coffee before I could even sit down. "I'm aware this is messy," she said before I could speak. "And I understand if you want to walk away." "I don't," I blurted. Ruth blinked, then smiled. "Loli, you're sure?" He nodded. "But I need to know. Is this a fling? Or is this something real for you?" She looked at me like she was measuring something invisible. "I haven't touched anyone in almost 2 years," she said softly. "I don't jump into anything. I don't fling." Her words sank in like warm honey, slow and heavy. We spent 3 hours there, talking, laughing, sharing embarrassing childhood stories. And then, when the cafe dimmed its lights and the world outside grew foggy, she reached across the table, fingertips brushing mine, and asked, "Do you want to come to my place?" Said yes. Her flat in Clifton was as poised and sharp as she was. Velvet furniture, floor-to-ceiling shelves, art that hinted at wealth she never flaunted. She poured wine, turned on Ella Fitzgerald, and then, just like that, she kissed me. There was nothing hesitant in her mouth, no question in her hands. She kissed me like she already knew where I broke, and how to put me back together. By the time I left, it was nearly 2 a.m. She walked me to the door barefoot, her silk robe tied in a messy knot, her hair undone. At the threshold, she touched my face gently. "We'll have to be careful," she said. "Are we something now?" "Yes." "I don't know," she whispered, brushing her thumb across my cheek. "But I want to find out." And then she closed the door. I stood outside, breathless, terrified, electrified. Monday morning came with a chill wind and the echo of Ruth's lips still lingering on my skin. I tried to dress like it was any other workday. Black slacks, neat blouse, hair pinned, but inside nothing felt the same. I stepped into the Kingsley & Fun office and immediately regretted every second of our weekend together. Because there she was, already in the conference room, composed, professional, a cream blouse tucked into navy trousers, hair pulled back like it always was on Mondays. She didn't look at me when I passed. No secret smiles. No lingering eye contact. "Ruth, my boss." That morning we sat through 2 editorial pitch meetings. She asked for updates on my assigned manuscript with cool detachment, like we hadn't kissed under the glow of jazz and candlelight 2 nights ago. like she hadn't whispered into my neck with a sigh that still made my knees tremble. I told myself this was what we agreed on, discretion, but it stung. By lunch I was unraveling. I sat on the rooftop terrace alone, watching pigeons fight over crumbs and wondering if I'd just been a weekend thrill to her after all. Then my phone buzzed. "Ruth, check your email." Not the work one. I opened my personal inbox. A message with no subject. Inside was a single line. "You look breathtaking when you're focused." I couldn't risk staring too long in the meeting. I nearly dropped the phone. That night she invited me to hers again. No pretense this time. She opened the door barefoot again. This time in jeans and a cardigan. "I couldn't stop thinking about you," she admitted, voice hoarse. "Even when I tried." We spent the evening on the floor with takeout boxes and no rules. We talked about what it meant, this thing between us. The power dynamics. The risk. The tension. "I don't want to be reckless," she said. "But I don't want to be without you either." And somehow I believed her. What followed was a blur of nights. Stolen weekends, shared secrets, quiet handholds beneath restaurant tables. We became experts at pretending during office hours and indulging in everything after. But pretending came at a cost. One Friday evening, my name popped up on the shortlist for internal promotions. I was thrilled until I saw her face the moment I told her. She froze. "They think I'm the one who pushed your name forward." "Did you?" "No," she said, eyes unreadable. "But they'll never believe that now." That night we didn't kiss. We didn't touch. Instead we sat on her sofa like strangers. She said, "Maybe we should take space. Until this blows over." I didn't argue. The next 3 weeks were hollow. We spoke at work, but only in clipped sentences. She looked through me during meetings. And I told myself I was okay. I wasn't. Then, one evening after office hours, I found her waiting by the building entrance. Rain slicked on her coat, her eyes tired. "I've made my peace," she said. "Let them talk. Let them wonder. I won't keep pretending like I don't feel what I feel." She stepped forward. "And if this means walking away from my title, my reputation, I'd still choose you." My throat tightened. "Ruth." She took my hand. "I want us. Not in secret. Not halfway." So we did the unthinkable. We confessed to HR. Laid it all bare. They reassigned my project team. She stepped down from being my direct supervisor. And for the first time we were just two women in love. No secrets, no fear. Just Ruth and Eleanor. And that felt like the start of something even more thrilling than a swipe on a screen. Felt like the first honest chapter of something real.